Hey there team, welcome back to the channel, welcome to my overview of Cash Cleaner Simulator. Oh my god, these game names, they're sort of original in a derivative kind of way. Anyway, look, I do overviews on this channel, or at least that's part of the format. Stick around till the end, we're going to talk about reviews, but generally speaking, I look at the first couple of hours of a game because of the Steam refund window. Steam says you can make up your mind in that time. You know, I've got a whole spiel about it, but basically, I just dip in, right? Have a first impressions kind of thing, give you the broad strokes info, keep it around 10 minutes. Pretty service level stuff. I had things that I was supposed to be doing today. I have about 10 things stacked up that I should have been doing, and instead I played bloody 7 hours of this. So, rubber stamp, I guess. There is something about the catharsis that comes from the... look, I use the term fidelity a lot for many different things, but there's something about the manipulation of individual objects done right. You know, Hydroneer is the oldest example I can think of if you've ever played that. The whole idea of, you know, digging things out of the ground with essentially like a one-handed shovel. Like, there's an arduous nature to the almost anal level of interaction you have to do. This probably doesn't sound like such a great pitch, but my point is that if you get it right, it's so good. And the moment to moment of piss farting around, sorting money, washing, getting into your own system and picking everything up and figuring out how that world works, it is so good. And in the end, I kind of stopped because beyond that loop, it shallowed out a little bit. It's trying to do a bit of a story thing, but it's pulling its punches. I feel like if it was a little bit more straight-faced, I'm not being a prude, but it is a little bit humory, shallow, and look, I know I'm tumbling over myself, but this is equal parts an exception to the stupid simulator rule, which would be most games with simulator in their name are crap shovelware. I don't think many people will argue with that. This sits just over the border, right? This is better. This is good. This is... well, I don't cover simulator games very often for that exact reason. This is the one I'm covering. And it makes me think of, if you remember from last year, Crime Scene Cleaner. There you go, another generic simulator bait title, but that was one of the best games I played last year. And, you know, I don't want to make this a review about that. You can check out my videos that I did about that, but that's an excellent game you should also check out. But my point is, if you enjoyed that, you're probably going to get some value from this. But where that one had, you could probably say a shallow, but it was enough story. You're a cleaner for the mob trying to make ends meet. You got a daughter with medical bills, and you live alone with your dog, and it's, you know, there's something kind of tragic about it, and it doesn't over-explain it. Like, I feel like they just, with very little, managed to nail it. And that's kind of the glaring thing that's missing here. They're going more for an amnesiac route. You're sort of an indentured prisoner with a debt to pay for something you don't remember doing. Like, there's an attempt at an intrigue thread, but I don't think they really grabbed it with both hands and gave it enough of a go for me to care. But fortunately, in my not caring so much about reading my text messages, I mean, I read some of them, there was always money to be cleaned, and my god, that was so satisfying. So yeah, look, I do recommend this. It's not terribly expensive, it's at a launch discount. But yeah, it's a weird kind of disappointment, I guess. Disappointment is usually just you hate the whole product. I really like this, but I feel like it could have been more. Anyway, so there's a dumb setup. You're essentially locked away as a prisoner. You know, think Jesse in a meth prison downstairs, and you're cleaning money and trying to fill orders, right? You take orders, they'll drop money off, you fill them, you send it out. The thing is that it's exact what you're going to give back to them, but what they give you is not exact, and that can range from, you know, bags full of frigging, you know, rubbish and shell casings to, you know, dirty money. Fucking ink bombs can go off. That's a nightmare in its own. There can be counterfeit bills and all that, but the point is, you know, they're probably giving you, well, they definitely are giving you more than they're asking for back. So you can sort of come up with your own little skimming investment system, and as it develops, even beyond my 2 hours of footage, because I played more today, it gets, you know, into almost Squid Game territory. You got a giant piggy bank to fill up. You've got like a $10 million Tom Nook debt, that sort of thing. Who cares? The money needs to be washed, and the money just keeps coming. So you fill a job on your phone, cases fall through the ceiling, you know, they might be a muddy case full of, you know, junk, rubbish, mixed up bills that need washing, and as you go along, you develop your own sort of method. I talked about the kind of fidelity of the controls. So you can pick up things individually and you can hold down, like say you pick up a dollar bill or whatever. Well, there's no dollar bills, there's 10. There's 10, 20, 50, 100. But then you start getting into euro as well, so you have to do different conversions and different machines. But anyway, say you pick up a bill, you can sort of hold the button down, left click, and vacuum up other bills in vicinity. And it's a little bit tedious. You can hold 100 stacks at once. And then with that stack, what you could then do is, you could throw it in a box or you could put it on the ground. But if you do, and the real fascinating thing is, it's all rendered. All these bills, like they're not super distinctly different other than, you know, dirty or ink or wet or whatever, but it's not like they have different barcodes or anything like that, I don't think, but they're still rendered in some fashion, right? When a big pile of them probably is more one asset than individual ones lying around. Anyway, I don't know how they do it, but it's very impressive if you stop and think about the technical components to all the little dollar bills being rendered or whatever they're doing. It's convincing and it's cool. But if you take your 100 stack of random bills and put it back on the ground, it'll just concertina fall over probably and roll around. So what you can do is, while you have it held, you can interact with like a rubber band bloody money clip thing, and now you've got yourself a money thing, and they'll color code the bands if you sift and sort them properly. So if that stack was all 100s, you'll get like a yellow band, and that's where the money sorting machines come into them, and you can get your entry level one for completing a mission or what have you, and you set it up. It'll essentially filter by type. So hey, filter the $100 bills, spit everything else that's not. So you start just jamming in your muddled up, messy, muddy, mixed bag, mess money. You just jam that in that machine and it will just start spitting it back out on the floor, but it'll keep the hundreds. And then, you know, when you get to a stack of 100 or whatever, you know, you can change the stack amount on certain machines, but you grab that, you rubber band it, all right, now you've got known currency. But now you've got a 100 stack of $100 notes. You've got 10 grand. And then you can start stacking the notes. And then you can pick up the individual notes and all that sort of stuff. So it all gets really interesting. Now, when there's big piles of money on the ground, you can hold, I've got the muscle memory, but I haven't had to say it out loud. I think you hold F and then press left, and that's like a group scoop. And as you start sorting the piles of money, that becomes a really convenient way to pick up a whole bunch of money at once. But if you're not careful, you'll scoop up all sorts of other crap as well. Rubber bands and plastic and, you know, junk and knives. Like if you want to cut those bands off, you need a knife. You have to pick the knife up. You have to cut it. Like I said, I mentioned Hydroneer. This whole sort of one-armed bandit control scheme. I don't know what else to call it, but that seems like an apt description. And I love it. I love this sort of control where you have to touch each thing individually. You have to start thinking about it. So at this point, like I've opened up an extra room, I've got a washer and a dryer, like so you've got a literal washing machine to wash the bills, but then they're in wet state, and some jobs will ask specifically for like dry. And so you put them in, you know, one of those bloody money grabbing game show machines to dry your money, then you grab that out, and then I've got a conga chain of like 4 money filter machines. The first one does 100, and that one actually can detect marked bills and spit them out. And at first I was sort of just feeding them back into orders to get them back into circulation. If they didn't mention counterfeit bills, then I'm just going to give them back. And I didn't think I got penalized or anything, but now I'm starting to get jobs asking for actual fake money because it's like a gang underground thing. Anyway, there's infinite jobs, there's mission jobs, there's a whole bunch of contacts in your phone book, and I couldn't tell you the name of any of them because I don't really give a crap. It's okay, it does the job. It could have been more, but yeah, this constantly scrubbing and sorting and rubber banding and then grabbing a bunch of rubber banded bills together and then plastic wrapping them into a brick and then putting them into a suitcase to send out to fill the order. My God, it is so incredibly satisfying. Like, I don't need to bang the drum, I've made that very clear, but it is one of those things, you know, like the VR paradox. You'll never understand how good VR is until you put a headset on and do it yourself. You can't see it in videos, right? And it feels like that sort of thing. The fidelity, the fun, the physical feedback loop of picking up all these bills and sorting them and coming up with your own efficiency model to, you know, scrub it. Like, I've got a giant box of dirty cash, and every time I put stuff in there, it makes my computer lag because it's so huge. It's probably a terrible idea to do, and it's probably bricking my GPU, but I don't care, because now I've got a second one of those boxes that I'm building up. Anyway, my point is, it may not necessarily come across in the footage, but my God, this game is absolute virtual crack, and I kind of had to drag myself away. Oh yeah, look, I mentioned very briefly, I flip-flopped on sort of longer form review overviews. I did them earlier in the year. I kind of retired them for various reasons. I'm probably going to bring that back. I miss playing games longer form. The main reason for mentioning it here is, you know, I think I'm probably going to drop one tomorrow, actually. I'm reviewing something under embargo. But if you do have any questions about my format or any feedback or thoughts, maybe, you know, if you've made it this far and you've been with the channel that long and you find all that interesting, let me know. The hope is to do like a quarterly update video, of which I'm obviously behind because I retired the system early, but I will at least talk about it and more at length when I do those kind of videos. So I might just backload some of this stuff for those curious. I don't need to go on much longer, but if you have any thoughts, just give me a buzz or jump in the Discord or whatever, because who knows, you could maybe even help me improve my unusual review system. Anyway, team, might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.